Independent, expressive of a spirit of independence, self-confident, unconstrained.
Welcome to Independence Day. This is the show that examines the changing face of the music business and the people who are doing the changing. We've been gone a long time due to the coronavirus pandemic, and I have to say that we are absolutely elated to be back. For the last year and a half, we decided that it was unsafe to have musicians in the same room together. But now that vaccinations are commonplace and the situation continues to improve, we have dusted off our microphones and we will once again be bringing you conversations with incredibly creative musicians. As we've been saying for over 10 years now, Independence Day brings you independent artists, producers, and music industry visionaries with in-depth interviews, live performances, and inside information, all without hype and direct from the artists who practice their craft. This week on Independence Day, Leeann Skoda. Nashville is a town filled with great singers and great songwriters, and certain rare artists are endowed with exemplary gifts in both endeavors. Leeann Skoda is just that kind of artist, and although she's from Arizona and currently calls Los Angeles home, she chose Nashville as the setting to record her new EP, Lucky Penny. While it's true that Skoda cut her teeth singing choral music and the kinds of country standards that comprise the foundation of every storied building on Music Row, her musical evolution on Lucky Penny reveals that her palette is infinitely more varied than yet another cookie-cutter country singer in a sequined shirt. Sure, she can pull off a convincing Emmylou, Maybelle Carter, or Sheryl Crow, and she's been doing so for years, both with her own songs as well as a hired gun session singer. But the adventurous soundscapes of her new direction are more indicative of a fumbling towards Ecstasy-era Sarah McLachlan, or even Radiohead's pioneering the Benz or OK Computer albums. The 5 gems on Lucky Penny were written during an especially inspired artistic period fomented by a month-long songwriting challenge with a friend, and the self-imposed ambitious parameters of turning out new songs day by day paid off in spades. Skoda makes both the writing and the singing sound easy, but they most certainly are not. Making rare gifts sound easy is the hallmark of a true artist. Welcome to Independence Day, Leeann Skoda. Hi, Leeann. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am great. I can't wait for people to hear the music you're going to play today. You're a relatively new artist to me. You're part of the LA scene. I've seen your name around on the socials and elsewhere. LA's funny that way. As big a town as it is, the music community is in some ways small. And so I've seen your name around, and I'm happy to make your acquaintance and meet you and see what you're all about and hear what you're all about. And I can't wait for the Independence Day listeners to hear what you're all about. But let's dive in. I want to get some bio information out of you first. I know a little bit about you, but I want to share that with our listeners and also find out more about what makes you tick. So the first way I'm going to get into that is I wanted to ask you, go back to high school, imagine in your head, who was your favorite band in high school, your favorite artist? Because I feel like back when you'd go to visit someone's house, and back then you had CDs or records, and you could look across their record collection and say, oh, they've got Ministry, or they've got Kemper Van Beethoven or whatever. Who was that band for you or artist for you?
Right. When I was in high school, man, I feel like every year in high school probably was a different era of music fandom. But I loved what was going on in the indie rock scene. I loved Feist. I loved Death Cab for Cutie, Imogen Heap. I got really into My Morning Jacket for a long time. And then also into college. I also really loved bluegrass music. I loved Alison Krauss and Union Station. Grew up listening to bluegrass, like the Cox Family. And in high school, I still kept listening to some of my childhood favorites like that. So I had quite an eclectic Tom Petty, and those are the ones that come to mind. Quite a interesting array of music.
And where did those kind of influences come for you? Because at one point it was all radio.
Right.
Radio was how people discovered new music. Maybe there was the counter jockey at the local record store back when we had record stores. Now there's kind of a resurgence of record stores, but for a period there, the mom and pop shops were kind of getting weeded out. And so how did you hear about music, like in your friend set in school? How did you hear about new music?
I definitely heard about new music from friends, but I was always ever since I was a kid, when I was really young, I would listen to the radio and make mixtapes myself when I was like 6, 7 years old, go home in my room and like, pressing record on my boombox and making like little mixtapes. So I was always kind of like that. And then into high school, I would go to like the local bookstore, where you could scan the CD and then you could listen to it. So I would hunt myself through the CDs and find music I liked that way. And then there was, I hate to admit this, but there was Napster, and I would find music through Napster as well. And then definitely some influence through friends. Like I remember discovering Radiohead through friends. And there was like a scene of like emo music at my high school in particular, and I was also into those bands, music that now I look back and I listen to it, I'm like, oh man, I thought this was so good when I was 15 and now I can't. It's like unlistenable, but at the time I liked it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a I don't want to say guilty pleasure, because I feel like people shouldn't be so judgy about other people's music tastes and choice, but is there something that would be a de facto guilty pleasure, something that, because I have tons of things that I go back. Like I even have seasonal music, like music that always reminds me of fall. And I'm in my autumnal music playlist realm right now. So do you have music that, again, for the guilty pleasure-ish thing, like thing that you go back to?
Oh yeah. There's my guilty pleasure from, my high school. Actually, what a big one for me would be the band Sixpence None the Richer.
Oh yeah, they did a cover of the Grinch song.
Oh really?
Yeah, you're a monster, Mr. Grinch.
I did not know about that, but I love. I don't know how many records they put out, but there's one that I love so much.
Nashville group, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Also, right now, my guilty pleasure music is like my workout playlist, which is like Robin. I'm a big fan of Robin and her voice, and it's got some Lizzo on there.
Can I tell you a funny workout music story?
Yeah.
Back in Chicago, I'm a runner, so I run a lot to keep myself functional and healthy. In Chicago, it gets cold, very cold. And I tried running through the winter, when I was really doing it, like the time when I was running marathons.
Dang.
And so cold. Just it's like if it's below freezing, it'll burn. Sometimes it almost feels like it burns your lungs, and plus you run the risk of tripping. And it's dark all the time, so a lot of times you have to run after work, run in the dark. And so I got a gym membership for the first time ever at the Y, which was pretty clean in that part of town. So, and back then it was a CD Discman. And I would take some discs down, like, okay, I'm going to run on the treadmill, because I don't really like running on the treadmill. It's like a hamster thing. But I brought some CDs, what I thought was the most up-tempo music in my, or, rockiest music, like in my catalog. Because some of my stuff's very quiet and very intimate, folky stuff. And I remember bringing Back in Black. And I put it on, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to run. This is going to be great. This is really energetic music. And then when you try this at home, kids, you put on Back in Black, the tempo is not fast. It's like chick, 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 click, click, bam, ba-na-na, da-na-na, open space, da-na-na-na-na. And I'm like, okay, well, it's rocky, but not fast.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, let's try Blood Sugar Sex Magic by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Put that on, and it's like, bow, 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 out, down, out, down, out, da, 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 down. It's not as fast as you think. Then I was like, oh, this isn't going to work. So you know what I ended up doing?
What?
I went against type, and I put Cowboy Junkies on.
Okay.
And just ran to like really lethargic, laconic, slow, wonderful music. So I just went against type. Try it at home sometime.
I have done that, actually. I remember running. I don't really run anymore, but when I first discovered Sufjan Stevens.
Oh, yeah. I love that guy.
I was running to his music.
Yeah.
Because I loved it, and it was just something to distract me from the running itself, which is,
Yeah, even now, I don't always listen to music, but if I run, like I always think, because I run down through Eagle Rock and up kind of through Highland Park and back up through parts of Glendale. And I think some days when I'm running, I'll put something on like Tom Waits or whatever, and I think I'm probably the only person jogging and listening to Tom Waits in the entire Los Angeles area right now.
Totally. I love that.
Maybe
I
not.
love that.
Anyway, sorry. So we got a taste of high school, like who you were. Like, which kid were you? Were you like a goth kid? Were you an indie kid? Were you? It's not so much about pigeonholing you as much as it is hearing how you felt about, like, what did you think about yourself?
Yeah.
Were you in the theater, music
Yeah.
program?
Music, choir, and music theater. I went to a very small school.
How small is very small?
There were 88 in my graduating class.
That is small.
Yeah. And the cool thing about that was that kids could kind of do anything. Like our quarterback of our football team was also like the star tenor in the choir.
Yeah.
You know? But I was not athletic, so I was definitely not playing sports. As soon as I could audition for like the choirs and the musicals, that was my thing. And that's what kept me getting out of bed and going to school every day, was that I could go sing in choir and go do the musicals. Yeah.
So what, because I mean, I sang in tons of choirs all the way through college and a little bit afterwards. I had a wonderful, wonderful experience in choir. I think you learned so many things. But what did you love about it? What did you love about that world?
The power that's behind all those voices, and just getting to sing with so many people, it just creates the most wonderful feeling. It's just the best feeling ever. Also, just being able to sing harmony has always been something I've loved. So getting to do that in the choir context, it was like getting to do my favorite thing in a class period.
Yeah. So, but if your school was that small, I mean, how many people were in your choir? Ballpark.
I want to say there were, I would say it was like equivalent to like a full class, like maybe 40 kids.
Okay, that's pretty big.
Maybe less. Yeah. Maybe like 30.
So, given the size of your school, was there a robust music program in your school? Because some of the funding for that has ebbed and flowed over the years. Sometimes it was available for schools, and sometimes there was no music or art at all.
Yeah, we were lucky. We were super lucky. It was, when I was there, it was a husband and wife team. This wonderful couple, and the wife was the choir teacher, and the husband was the musical director. And they were just, whatever they were bringing to the table was just really working. We had like wonderful choirs, wonderful musicals, and a lot of talented kids. But then you could say that it was the directors that were bringing it out of us as well. So yeah, we just got lucky to have them, I believe.
Teachers are so crucial.
Yeah.
I mean, bless all of them to a person, because it's a hard gig and it seems to just get harder over time. And now they've got to deal with personal safety, threat to life and limb issues on top of it. It's just, it's beyond amazing to me. All respect to all teachers.
Totally.
And a bad teacher can break you too.
Absolutely.
You know? I remember in college, I dropped a class after one class because I needed to take the class, but I'm like, I have to find another professor because I know this guy's going to drone on. It's just personality. It's based purely on his personality. There's no way I was going to do well in that class because I'll take it from someone else, but I can't take it from this guy. So I'm glad to hear you had a good art program in your school. Now, you're a very talented singer, right? You also play guitar. But was there someone in your world, this is a question I ask a lot of people who are very accomplished singers, was there someone in your world who made you want to sing? Someone you saw? Was it a relative, a parent, a friend?
Mariah Carey.
I was going to say, was it Adele?
It was Mariah Carey.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I always loved music and loved to sing, but when I heard her voice come through the radio, I just remember the moment, and I was just like, this is the best singer ever. And I became obsessed.
Yeah.
For years. And I just listening to her, seeing her, I was like, oh, that's somebody who is a singer. So then I learned quickly after that I could not sing her songs well, and it didn't sound good when I sang her songs, which was heartbreaking.
Yeah. Well, see, that's
not over it yet.
That's the problem. Like, so many of us, we're drawn to musicians who are very, very talented. You know, there's a reason why they're household names. And so when people start playing, forgive the neighbor's dog if you can hear the yippee dog over there. There's nothing I can do about that here at the Independence Day World headquarters. It's baked into the cake. So we start off emulating people who are extremely talented, whether they're talented writers or performers or singers or dancers or all of the above. But then at some point we have to find our own voice, as a performer, both literally as in terms of our instrument that we're born with, as well as how we choose to use it. So at what point did you figure out that concept, that you couldn't emulate Mariah Carey, but you could be your own thing?
Mm-hmm. Well, I discovered very early on that I wasn't going to be Mariah Carey. And then I discovered that when I sang along to like country radio, that it really worked for my voice. And it's nothing that I really actually thought anything of. I was just like, oh, my voice sounds really good singing along to like Shania Twain or Trisha Yearwood. And but that didn't really, finding my own voice and who I am as a performer came way, way, way later. I would say I didn't even start really exploring that till I was like 25, like mid-20s, like very late.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a constant journey.
Well, yeah, it is. We're all on our own path. There's
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times people get hung up on benchmarks, like, well, I should be doing this by this time. And social media exacerbates that. We have no choice but to measure ourselves against our peer group.
Yeah.
Whether they're in our own, now it's worldwide. Now it's not just the people in our hometown. Now we see what Instagram people are posting on Instagram in Nashville and in New York and in Miami and in France and wherever they happen to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a key moment. So was it like a light bulb moment for you, or was it more of an evolution that you figured out that your voice lent itself to that style?
Oh, that was just very, I just knew that by singing along to the radio. And then when I got the opportunity to start singing, actually when I came to LA, I started singing in a bluegrass band, and I've always been drawn to harmony singing ever since I was like 10 years old. And so it also, like, country music and harmony singing just totally goes hand in hand. So I was like, I can do this. Like, I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. Like, I'm not from the South. Like, I didn't think that was something that I could do. But then I found myself out here doing it, and I'm like, this is so fun. I love this, and I can sing it. I know these songs. So yeah, you don't necessarily have to be from Tennessee to sing,
well, of course,
country music.
Absolutely.
Turns out.
Well, look, having traveled around the country and somewhat around the world, people need to remember that 30 miles outside of every major American city is NASCAR country.
Yep.
Whether you're in California or Washington or New York or wherever, like, you get to rural America, and in some ways the rural states areas have more in common to each other than they do the urban areas of our country. The rural-urban divide, I think, is what they call that in like sociological circles where they study those things in college.
Yeah.
I am by no means a genius about that, but I have traveled enough to know the difference. So my guest this week on Independence Day, Leeann Skoda. That's 2 E's and 2 N's in Leeann. You can find everything you need to know about her at leeannskoda.com. She's got a new EP coming out just this week. Check it out on her website. You can follow her on Instagram at lskoda. Also on Facebook, facebook.com/Leeann Skoda. The new EP is called Lucky Penny. We're going to hear a song from that right now. The song's called The Living Room. Let's check this out. Leeann Skoda on Independence Day.
You don't know me, but I see you. I've been watching for weeks. Don't know your names. I imagine while my new baby shrieks. Young bodies in the sheets. Love on the 3rd floor. My life could be yours. Taking it all Mine could be like yours.
This is Joe Armstrong. You are listening to Independence Day, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing so. We had a long, interminably long break for the pandemic. It was not safe to get musicians in a room together with other human beings. I mean, musicians are human beings too, last time I checked, but we're back. I'm so happy to be back. We're all vaccinated here at the Independence Day World Headquarters, and all of our guests are as well. Live shows are starting back up again. We're going to talk about Leeann's upcoming show for her release of her new EP called Lucky Penny. That show is going to be at Club TG. That is on November the 7th, which is a Sunday. What time is that, Leeann? Is it an evening thing?
Yeah, evening, 8 p.m. We'll probably start around 9.
Cool. I hope myself, I don't know that I'm in town, but I hope that I will be. I would love to come see that. You're going to play with a band?
Yep.
Who's in the band? Are you at liberty to say?
Yeah, I got my friend Kevin Brown on drums, who played on the record. My friend Philip Glenn, he plays keys and violin, which is a very cool combo.
Yeah.
Corey Tremontelli on bass, and my friend Dylan Rodrigue on electric guitar.
We know that Tremontelli. He is a close personal friend of mine. Plays on my record as well, my upcoming record.
Amazing.
I bumped into Corey I met him at, do you remember Rich Hinman versus Adam Levy?
Oh, yeah.
It was my favorite band in Los Angeles before Rich and Adam moved back New York way. Loved going to see them play. It was Jay Belleros on drums and Jennifer Condos on bass. Brilliant band. And I went to see them after a radio shift. They were playing somewhere in Hollywood on a weekday. And I was by myself because I was on my way home. And I noticed this kid sitting next to me. And at one of the breaks, I was like, yeah, they're pretty good, aren't they? And he's like, yeah, they're really great. And we just got to talking because I have a habit of talking to people around me wherever I am, for better or for worse. And we kind of hit it off. He's from the Midwest. I'm from the Midwest. We exchanged phone numbers. And then at one point, he was on a tour and he said, hey, when you get back, let's play together. And I said, great, let's do so. So then he played drums in my band for a while. And then,
Really?
He's a drummer too.
Amazing.
And then now he's playing bass. And I love that guy.
Oh, he's fantastic.
No,
Yeah,
I love
him.
his sense of humor.
Oh, yeah.
He is bizarre in the most
wild. I love
wonderful way I can think of. So a shout out to C-Tram.
Yeah.
And that means I definitely have to come out to that show.
That's right.
But pick up the new EP. The new EP is called Lucky Penny, and it is sonically delicious. Super cool production. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But before we get there, I don't want to finish up the bio stuff because you came from Phoenix.
Yeah.
Born and bred, raised in Phoenix, but you've got some Midwest roots back before that.
That's right.
But tell me about, I don't know the music scene in Phoenix. I've toured through there a couple times. We basically played the big outdoor auditorium. It was 1,000,000 degrees, mostly is what I remember. So you're coming out of high school. Did you go to college in the area
I did.
as
I
well?
went to ASU. Yeah.
Okay, so you're close by.
Yeah.
So you're like up in it. But so you're out of school and you're starting to write or play shows. And what's the scene like? Is it supportive? I just don't know anything about Phoenix and when it comes to that.
You know, I actually wasn't really playing shows in college.
Okay.
I was very shy. It was like a difficult adjustment, I think, for me coming from a very small school, going to ASU. And I was just kind of shy about exploring that side, which I always wanted to do. But I was in choir. I was like singing in choir. That was my outlet. And I wasn't really going out. Of course, I went to shows. I was going out to like the Yucca Tap Room, the Marquee Theater. Those are like, some Tempe spots. And I loved going to shows.
Mm-hmm.
But I was, still a little too shy to pursue it myself, or, afraid of failure, all that good stuff. But there are some really cool spots in Phoenix to go out and see music, and there's some great artists, and I'm trying to get back there more now, since I kind of missed that part of being out and performing when I was like in college. And it's great. There's some great spots, really great spots now.
Okay, so you're going to see shows. Were you playing guitar by this point? Had you picked that up?
Not really. My dad always played guitar growing up, and I just kind of like fiddled around on it a little bit.
Okay.
But not really seriously.
Wow, you were late to the game on the guitar.
Very, very late, yeah.
So what was the inspiration? What made you pick up guitar? Because, I mean, from my perspective, when I was a kid, like I loved singing. My mom was in the church choir, and I used to sit up in the choir loft. And I was introduced to multi-part singing at a very early age, so my brain could always pick out all the parts. Just music's in the DNA. And then doing choir in school all the way through college. But I was, I picked up the guitar because I always thought that I was too self-conscious to stand there and just sing. I wasn't sure that I could do the like David Lee Roth, Robert Plant thing where you're jumping around entertaining everybody. Like if I had a guitar, not only do I have a prop that I can hide behind, but I can also, I'm self-contained. I can accompany myself. What was the logic for you?
Yeah, accompanying myself for sure. And I gravitated toward the guitar, even though I think I just didn't have the discipline, to be honest, like growing up to get good at an instrument. Because, I could sing. I was involved in all these musical endeavors, but I was just, then when I got older and I didn't have those outlets anymore, I was like, okay, I want to keep doing music. I want to keep singing. I want to start writing songs, and it's time I just pick up the guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot easier than schlepping a piano around, I suppose.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so when you, like, how does one do that? I'll specify it. How did you do that specifically? Was it the classic, like, okay, I'll ask a friend which guitar I should buy and then go start to take lessons? Or did you do it completely on your own, like free range? How did you do it?
Let's see. I played one of my dad's Epiphone guitars for a couple of years. And then when I moved out to LA, I went to Guitar Center and bought like a used Martin, which I loved for a while. And I just started hitting up like open mics and playing at like farmers market. And then I met this bluegrass band called the Get Down Boys. And that's what really like shot my playing up, because I was playing with all these players and I was singing with them, but I was just like playing my guitar with them, and shedding all those tunes got me so much better in a very quick amount of time.
Bluegrass is no joke on the guitar. I mean, on any instrument, it is a very virtuosic style of music.
Yeah.
And there's a whole specific, did you learn the proper bluegrass picking stuff? Because Sean Watkins was on my show here at one point.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Super nice guy.
Yeah.
We both have we're both IPA aficionados, he
Nice.
and I. Bitter men, very bitter men, at least when it comes to beer. But he left a pick here. I have a pick here somewhere. But the proper style is you don't move your wrist. It's all from the elbow. Like that flat picking style. Did you like get down that road?
I was more playing the rhythm stuff, but the guys that I played with played like that for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so but your first chords though, you didn't just buy a guitar and then show up at like an open mic. Like someone had to teach you
my
chords.
dad taught me when I was little. Like, my dad taught me chords for sure.
Okay, so
I just didn't really practice or
that's what I was
it.
getting at. Like, where was that seed? Where did that come from? So that was already in there.
Oh, for sure.
Got
First
it.
chords and all. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Phoenix, went to Arizona State. What was your major? What did you study? Music?
I was a music major going in, and then I switched to journalism.
Ah, very nice. Oh, you and I had some other things to talk about.
Yeah.
Lots of things to talk about. So why Los Angeles? Because had you figured out the country music thing by that time, or did that happen after you moved here?
No, it's quite an interesting path. I went from ASU, and then I wanted to go abroad and live in a Spanish-speaking country because I've always loved the language.
¿Habla español?
Sí.
Sí, mi español es muy mal. No es bueno.
Entiendo.
Yo soy inocente.
Te entiendo. So I went to Spain and I taught English there for 2 years. And while I was there, I kind of started singing in bands. And I was like, this is the life I was meant to live. I love this. We're going out, we're singing in little bars and clubs, and I'm having the time of my life. So I was like, I need to just give this a try and come back to the States because and then, I've always been like listening to bluegrass, folk, and country music. And so then when I came and fell in with that band, that was kind of the first time that I was playing that music in public and adopted some of the country writing style in my first record, which I'm, kind of moving away from now, but it was really, really fun for a while.
like so many people, and definitely for myself, I feel like music chose me. I didn't choose it.
Absolutely.
I can't not do it. I have no choice. It's
Yeah.
a compulsion. It's an avocation. That very phrase comes up a lot in my world. I joke that I would have a nicer stereo, a better car, probably a better living situation, much more stable romantic personal relationships over the years, having made different life choices. But these are the choices I have no choice but to make these choices. Any case, my guest on Independence Day this week, Leeann Skoda. Let's play a live song. What's
All right.
what's this first one you've got queued up for us here?
I'm going to do a song from this new EP called I Believe.
So happy to have live music back here on Independence Day. Happy to have Leeann Skoda sitting with me here in the world headquarters. She's going to play a song for us. That song is called I Believe. It is from the EP, which is called Lucky Penny. Check this out. Leeann Skoda on Independence Day.
I look down, I don't see the path before my feet. I look up, don't see the signs in the stories. I roll my eyes when they say it was meant to be. I believe what I see. I believe what I see. Crying on a plane, reading modern love. I say everyone's to blame, but I'm a skeptic speaking in tongues. She said just take a little and then tell me what you see. Eyes wide open and then we were talking with the tree. He was wise and said whatever will be will be. I believe what I see. I believe what I see. Crying in the rain, is this all my plan? I see everyone's to blame, but I'm a mystic with a suntan. I made a wish and locked it up and threw away the key. Then I forgot because I don't believe in destiny. But I look at you and the heavens open up for me. And I believe what I see. I believe what I see. I believe what I see. I believe.
That is the song I Believe on Independence Day. The artist is Leeann Skoda. Check her out at leannskoda.com. That's 2 E's and 2 N's. She's also on Instagram at lskoda, Facebook at Leeann Skoda. And man, great stuff. Love it. Dig it, dig it, dig it. That song,
Thank you.
incidentally, you're welcome, has the same title as my agnostic gospel song from my most recent record, I Believe. So that's kind of the inspiration for yours too?
Yeah, like I'm a person who I think that I'm pretty logical and kind of have a skeptical bent, and but at heart I'm a romantic, you know, and so I was just kind of confronting that dichotomy in that song.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you, sister. I got you like locked in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I wanted to do something kind of similar, and our choruses are somewhat similar. I mean, mine's like, I believe what I can see with my eyes. I believe what I can hold in my hands. I believe what I hear in my ears. In a world where belief in science has now become somehow optional,
Yeah.
I feel like saying those things to people, even in subliminal ways, like in a song, is very, very important. So kudos to you for doing so.
Thank you.
Dig it. And it sounds super cool. I highly encourage all of you listeners out there to go pick up this EP because it sounds, just the sonics of this record are super cool. And I would say it's a departure or at least an evolution based on what I've heard from you before. That first record you released 2018, Back Home, or sorry, Call Me Back Home.
Yep.
A little more traditional.
Yeah.
Country-ish singer-songwriter kind of thing. But this new record, like when I popped it on, what I heard, it's like there are hints of twang in there.
Yeah.
Right? There's some
For sure.
violins.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost as if it's sonically more modern sounding.
Yeah.
And I really like it when a particular album has a sonic imprint. And this definitely has it. Like you can tell that there's compression on the overhead cymbals. And the snare's got a nice room on it, and it's got some cool compression on it. And there's some ethereal synthy stuff woven into there. So
Yeah.
I really dig the direction that you're going in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Was this your choice to go in this direction?
It was kind of just, it's just kind of what happened when I met this producer. He's a friend of my friend's producer. My friend Jason Hawk Harris has worked with him for a really long time. And we were just I was telling him, I have all these new songs. I'm kind of unsure about what direction I want to go. And he's like, did you like the way my record sounded? And I was like, yeah. He's like, let me introduce you to my producer and you guys talk. And we did. And then a year or less than a year later, we were in the studio in his house in Nashville making songs.
Yeah. And I really think, how do I say this? To me, there's a logical growth or evolution from your prior record to this one. Like you sound more confident. Like your voice is great on both of those. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to give the wrong idea. It's great. But this new one, I feel like you've brought it to a different level.
Yeah.
I feel like when I listen to this and I listen to it, it's like, oh yeah, okay. Like the writing sounds tighter.
Yeah.
The melodies sound more, or I say less traditional, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I feel like if you're pushing yourself.
Right,
It
yeah.
sounds like to me. And then in your bio somewhere, I remember reading, it said like most of these songs came from like one particular fertile period.
Yeah.
Like, did that just land in your lap, or did you physically set yourself aside to do that, or how did you foment that kind of creative juice, like that thing?
It was a friend of mine, Emily Herndon. She's a wonderful singer and songwriter, and she was like, "Have you ever done a 30 days of writing a song a day?" And I was like, "No, I don't know if I can do that." And she's like, "Well, I'll do it with you if you want to try." And so we did, and we would send each other songs every day. And even if I had to work a full day, I would sit down and write a song. I wrote, I believe, after working like a 14-hour day, like the beginnings of what that song was, you know?
Yeah.
And that was just such an important time of growth for me, and pushing myself to just get those songs out, you know? And then Andy Freeman, my producer, also listened to so many demos and was also very like, we did a lot of pre-production in the songs, or at least more than I had in the past, and just like, hey, I think this one needs another chorus, or we need to put something different in here in this song. And we worked a lot on that for these songs.
Yeah. Having a producer makes a big difference. Someone you trust, musically, emotionally, financially, obviously. And for me, it really shows on this. But was there anything else that changed between the two records about, like, because it's such I don't want to make it sound like the last one was Gillian Welch and this new one is Metallica. It's not like that. Like, there's a through line. It's still you. It's still your music and your voice, which is great. But was there anything else that changed in your life that precipitated that kind of evolution?
I mean, yeah, there was, I think, well, the writing a song a day was really helpful to have my style come through, because when I made Call Me Back Home, I was playing a lot of bluegrass music. I was playing a lot of like Americana country stuff. So I definitely pushed myself in that direction in that record, because that's the kind of shows I was playing. Those were the kind of musicians I was hanging around with. But actually, when I sit down and write, not really what really comes through naturally.
Yeah.
I have more of a pop bent,
Mm-hmm.
from years of listening to 90s
Yeah.
radio, whatever.
Yeah.
That stuff is really comes through. So, I just kind of let myself find my own style, my own voice.
Yeah, that's a key phrase. You let yourself find your own style. That's a
Yeah.
very key phrase. And I think now we stumbled. Like, I always feel like the truth is evident once it tumbles out.
Yeah.
And like that to me is like the truest thing we've said so far.
Uh-huh.
So I'm glad that you did so, because I really do dig it. It sounds really, really great. When I think of when I popped it on and was listening, doing my notes for this episode, Sarah McLachlan's "Fumbling Towards Ecstasy"
Oh
record
my God, yeah.
came up, which I think is a brilliant record. Pierre Marchand, her producer, is responsible for a lot of those sonics because, she could just as easily be a breathy pop singer, but there's gravitas to that production. And it's like there are drum loops weaving in and out and like synthy stuff. But like I come from the world where I feel like you should have to be issued a permit to use a synthesizer.
Yeah.
Because it gets overused.
Right.
If used properly, it's brilliant. Like
Yeah.
Pink Floyd can do it. Certain bands just do it so well, but other people just abuse it, I think.
Yeah.
And on that record, also Kathleen Edwards, her records, she's an artist out of Canada. She took a long break. She's just come back, started making records again. Falls loosely in the Americana realm, but has kind of veered into, she dated the guy from Bon Iver for a while, Justin
Okay.
Vernon, so he produced one of her records, and it
Yeah.
had that kind of like spacious kind of thing.
Okay,
and then
cool.
now she's kind of splitting the difference between that and like somewhat kind of an Americana singer-songwriter thing.
Okay.
And that's what your music is
Very
reminiscent
cool.
of to me.
Okay.
And I love her
I
music.
love that.
I say it's delicious. That's the word I kept coming back to when I was listening.
Wow,
to it.
that's so
Ooh.
cool.
And I played it for my girlfriend. She's like, "Oh yeah, that's cool. Like I dig the new direction. And if I get a vote, I say you should continue in that direction." Now you recorded Lucky Penny in Nashville, but you live in LA. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure there's a few recording studios around LA. Why
Yeah.
did you choose to work in Nashville?
The producer, Andy's out there, and he has a home studio, really beautiful home studio there. And that's why we did it there.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
a simple answer.
Yeah.
So how long, when you go out to do Nashville, like how long would you go? Like for a week at a time,
We
a
did
couple days, a
a
month?
lot of, it was 2 weeks. We did a lot of work in those 2 weeks. And then these were not the only songs we recorded. We recorded a large batch of songs. And then I went out one more time. We did a few days of some, redid some vocals and
Okay.
some overdub stuff.
And you did mix it there too?
He mixed it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good work. Like in my notes, I've got written down, like I've got an earthier Radiohead.
Oh,
Because you're not all the way to Radiohead, because they've been doing what I call broken cash register music now for a few records.
Yeah.
I like it, but they've gone even farther down their own road to where they're completely their own thing.
Yeah,
now.
that's really high praise. Thank you. so
Yeah,
much.
I've got the Sarah McLachlan thing on there.
Yeah.
It's got like these languid tempos, which I think is
Mm-hmm.
cool, because I think young artists, like they've got a lot to prove and they've got a lot to say, and so it's like the tempos are like fast and
Yeah.
all these ideas. But like I don't know if it's the producer or you or a combination of the two, but like you left the space, because slower tempos, there's more room between the notes for push and pull, and
Yeah.
and the space is, so it just sounds mature in a good way.
Cool. Yeah.
I also really like the singing. You've got a great voice, so that's front and center. But on the song Troublemaker, there's a long kind of instrumental, I'd call it a ride out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I this is the second Pink Floyd reference or Radiohead reference I'll give, but like letting the music, the non-singing part of it, have a sonic space,
Yeah.
Is a cool thing. So was that your thing, or was that the producer's
yeah.
thing, or both of you? Both of
Yeah,
yous?
that was. I remember having that conversation early on in our like pre-production meetings, and I remember saying, "Oh, we should just jam out on this for a long time."
Yeah,
And
okay.
he was like, "What do you mean jam?" Probably a lot of singer-songwriters don't talk about
Yeah.
putting a jam section in their songs. But yeah, I'm all about that. I'm all about vibing with the players and
Yeah.
that energy and
Using with a group of musicians that you choose to be on a particular song or particular project, they're like colors on a palette.
mm-hmm.
And if it's like James Taylor, singing about the Berkshires, it's pretty limited what there is there. So a lot of it's going to be vocal focused. But I just personally love it when bands take the time to let the band play.
Yeah.
If the players are great and the music is great, and obviously it is in this case, let them do their thing. I think my ear really likes those that break from the singing. I love singing.
Same.
And it's so important. So kudos to you for that.
Oh, thank you.
How about another live song? What's this? What
right.
have you got next for us here?
Yeah, let's do the title track, Lucky Penny.
All right, Leeann Skoda on Independence Day. This is the track Lucky Penny. As she said, the title track. You should go see her play just this weekend at Club TG. That's on Glendale Boulevard here in beautiful Los Angeles. You said in the neighborhood of 8 p.m.?
Yeah.
8 p.m.-ish. Great band. Bring your mask, and I hope you're all vaxxed because we need to keep doing live shows. As I said, Leeann Skoda, the song Lucky Penny on Independence Day.
Lucky penny, 1989. In the Copperland, I'm gonna go back again. Not too many things I've left behind, that I would take the hand of any old friend. I guess I must be missing the desert, heat in my bones and the light in my eyes. I'm going back, but not how I left it, tracing every cracked and crooked line. Lucky for me, 1989 came the little hands of my only friend. Soon beneath the blue golden sky, she'll hold the hands and I'll hold the bell. I guess I must be missing the desert, heat in my bones and the light in my eyes. I'm going back, but not how I left it, tracing every cracked and crooked line. Just before 19, we went. I was living then, I'll be living again. Lucky penny, 1989. In the Copperland, gonna go back again. I guess I must be missing the desert, heat in my bones and the light in my eyes. I'm going back, but not how I left it, tracing every crack, tracing every crack, tracing every cracked and crooked line.
Alrighty, Leeann Skoda. I almost said all right. Leeann Skoda on Independence Day. That is the track Lucky Penny, which is the title track from her new EP. It's available at her website, leannskoda.com. Are you on Bandcamp and that kind of thing as well?
I am on Bandcamp. Yeah. It'll be up on Bandcamp.
And of course, all the usual streaming spots, Spotify, etc. And then we get our nickel and they get our dollar. That's how that works. But look, the music gets out there and the live shows are where it's at. Let's keep going with this. I'm having a wonderful time talking to you. I'm digging the music a lot. I can't thank you enough for coming in here and doing this. talk a little bit about your writing and kind of your performing style a little bit, because one thing, having sat and watched you do this here, you're very quiet when you perform, which is nice because it gives you more dynamic range on top when you do decide to get loud.
Yeah.
You know, I've always read that Paul Simon is a very quiet performer. It's challenging, like on a stage, because that means you have to turn the microphones up that much more, turn your guitar up that much more, maybe feedback issues become a thing. But in the right environment, because is it a challenge for you to sing in bars? Because that's being a quiet singer. When I try to play my quieter material and I'm in a bar, like it just gets lost.
Yeah. I mean, I've played I've played in quiet bars. I've played in loud bars. I just try and give my best performance no matter what. You know, I do have some tunes now that get louder and that I can play with a full band. But yeah, I really like to employ a lot of dynamics when I play.
Yeah, it's cool. You talked about where you found your voice as a singer. Like Mariah Carey was kind of like the first guidepost. But then when you started singing, you know, earthier country styles, like who were those artists that kind of, because, you know, Mariah Carey, as far as I know, has yet to do a country record.
Yeah, no, I would say Mariah Carey was a very, very early influence.
Of course.
But I really got into, she's more of a, I guess you would call it folk nowadays, but Anais Mitchell.
Okay.
I love Gillian Welch.
Yeah.
I got, really into those. I've always loved like Alison Krauss. Her singing is just,
oh my God,
perfect.
Can I tell you a quick story about Alison Krauss? I love going to the Hardly Strictly Bluegrass Festival up in Golden Gate Park every early October in San Francisco. Perfect, best curated music festival I've ever been to by a light year or more. Amazing, great artists, great setting, nice weather, nice people. And on Friday night one year, a few years ago, Alison Krauss played, and I went with my friend and former guitar player who now lives up there. And we were back a ways. She was on the main stage, and like my friend's name's Tyler, so we said let's just scoot up. You know, you and I, like, we left the girls with the dogs for a few minutes, and we went up just to listen up close. And we got within 30 feet or so of the stage, and she's singing, and I kid you not, people are openly weeping.
Wow.
Because her voice is so beautiful. Now, I know this sounds perhaps hyperbolic and, maybe a little overwrought, but I'm not lying to you in the least. And I myself, like, we were just transfixed. Yeah. I've seen her play before, and it's always like that. But she's got this angelic voice, unlike anyone else I've ever heard, where if you sit and, like, let it wash over you, like, I got misty-eyed just listening to it. It's unbelievable voice.
Right.
And she's from about 50 miles from where I went to college in central Illinois. She's from Champaign, Illinois.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Downstate on Interstate 57 on the way down towards southern Illinois.
Wow.
And a friend of mine from college used to, like, babysit her family or vice versa or something like that. So there was some, like, weird
There's a connection.
There's a connect in there somewhere.
That's good.
So we talked about the singing thing, but when it comes to writing, because you talked about the 30-day writing challenge. But when you went to find your voice as a writer, right? Because that's a different voice than your voice as a singer.
Absolutely.
Where did you find that? Like, so you did the work, right? You put in your 10,000 hours, or at least 30, whatever it took to do the 30-day thing.
Yeah.
But were there songwriting inspirations, right? Not that you necessarily needed to emulate that person, but someone's like, well, I want to write. When you say I want to write like that person, I don't mean like the song, but the truth about what they're saying.
Right.
Who were those people?
Well, I guess I would say that Gillian Welch and Anais Mitchell are some big, like, they were some writers that challenged me a lot, because their songs are just so good. And the visual details that, the show, not tell thing, they were both so good at that. And then I have, like, old influences that are just coming through that I might not be conscious of. Like, we were talking about Tom Petty. Like, I was listening to Wildflowers recently, and I realized, oh my God, so much of what I do is just in this record that I'm just unconscious of. So I think he's coming through a lot. You know, I listen to a lot of Radiohead. I really like gravitate toward pretty music. You know, when I was younger, I listened to a lot of them. So I think that kind of stuff comes out. Of course, Beatles.
Yeah.
So a lot of like just really deep influences, and then consciously, yeah, Gillian, Anais Mitchell, my peers, my friends these days that are great writers. My friend Dylan Rodrigue, my friend Emily Herndon, Cece Benhoff. So many peers that I just look up to. Yeah.
It's great to have talented friends. That's a phrase I like to use often. I feel extremely blessed in that
Oh
regard.
my God, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about that 30-day
Sure.
thing, because it seems like a lot of this material that we're hearing today, and I know you said there's another EP not too far behind this one that's about to come out. It's going to come out, so there's more material.
Yep.
How far were you into that 30-day thing? Because the example I always use for this, like the eureka moment, are you familiar with the Jayhawks?
Yeah.
The song Blue? Where have all my friends gone? It's the first song on Tomorrow the Greengrass record.
Okay.
Great song. Their biggest song. There were two guys in the band at that time, Mark Olson and Gary Loris. And they said as soon as they wrote that song, they were like, yeah. They knew right away, this is great. This is good. You know, whether we wrote it or not, it's not so much like, it doesn't mean we're great. It means the song is great. For you, in that 30-day thing, how far into it were you before you had a eureka moment?
Actually, I think that I had a eureka moment prior to that with writing The Living Room. And it was before I did that 30-day thing. I was just like, okay, this is the kind of stuff that like I would like to do more of. Like this feels really good. It feels interesting and cool, and like it's not country. It's not really like simple. And that kind of helped push those songs in that direction.
Yeah. Yeah, Jason Isbell, songwriter, was in Drive By Truckers for a while, made a big name for himself now in the past 10 years or so. And he's not the only one who says this. I mean, he gets it from other people too. He goes back to John Prine and John Hyatt, the same people I go back to.
Oh, yeah.
They talk about truth, like capital T truth, you know, and you hewing as close to that as you can. You can write about anything you want. You can sing about anything you want. The song can be about anything, any length, any key, any rhyme scheme or not rhyme at all. But that's the part that can't not be there.
Yeah.
Even if it's a silly song, I think it has to be truthful.
Yeah.
And it seems to me like you've, through effort or happenstance or whatever, like you were always a good singer, but now you're like plumbing those depths and like coming closer to that truth of you as an artist and as a writer.
Absolutely.
And then I feel like at that point, like the parallel journeys of an artist as a performer and as a writer, because not all musicians do both.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and I think I hate to use the label singer-songwriter. I'm one too, whether I like it or not, as are you.
Right.
That's anyone who sings and performs their own music. It's a very big bucket. But you're hewing closer to that truth, and I think the results are great.
Thank you.
So now we talked about, you know, singing in choirs and that kind of thing, and how it kind of got you. You know, you figured out that your instrument by your voice lent itself to a more country style for a while. Now you're veering kind of not as both back and forward at the same time, like looking back at different influences and drawing from different places. But as a music major, like you studied music, because not everyone who does this studies music or studied music. So are you employing like your music theory class when you're writing? It's like, oh, yeah, I should do a 4-chord here.
Nope.
Or you just do it by feel.
All ear. I've always been an ear person. Yeah. Like even before I knew anything about theory, I didn't like piano lessons because I just wanted to play stuff by ear when I was a kid. Didn't like sight reading. Then I had to learn sight reading in high school, you know, to be in choir. So yeah, I just am more of an ear person or feeling things out on guitar, but I don't think about theory when I'm writing at all.
At all, okay.
No. I mean, if someone tells me, "Oh yeah, this song goes to 1, 4, 5, whatever," I know that.
Yeah.
And it definitely helps me, but I've just always been so far on the ear side of things that.
Yeah.
I stay there.
But you know enough of the common language that if you bring in Corey Tremontelli, you say,
yes.
you say, oh, this, we need to go to the minor 2 here.
Right.
You comprehend what you're saying when you say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's, I'm always curious to ask musicians about like where that line is for them. Because I know some extremely talented people who never studied music theory whatsoever.
Right.
And they're playing chord substitutions and they don't even know they're doing it.
Right.
They don't know what to call it, but they're doing it anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a language that you can learn. I mean, you can speak English without being able to read it.
Exactly.
It's the same kind of concept, I suppose.
Yeah.
But is there anything from the studying of music? Because were you a vocal principal with your music degree?
It was, yeah, voice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was there something that you learned then that you're applying now?
I have no idea, to be completely honest. I don't know.
Well, you sang in choirs, so you learned harmony singing.
Oh yeah, for sure. I look back on some videos of me singing at that time, and my voice was just so strong. I had no idea. To be honest, at the time, I felt, because I was in the company of such like amazing musicians and singers, I kind of felt, and it was like kind of the route of you're going to be an opera singer, or you pick Broadway, or you're a music teacher. And there was like not another option for me as far as I knew in that context. So there's all these amazing like operatic performance majors, and I kind of felt lost in the mix. I really loved going to my voice lessons. I loved going to the choir. But I think that I did internalize a lot, and I was really strong at the time, but I just couldn't tell because I was just amongst like greatness.
Yeah.
Which is always how it is. And now I know that. Like anytime you're playing with people who are better than you, you don't see yourself getting better.
Yeah.
But then you can look back and be like, oh wow, I got a lot better because of that, and I learned a lot. But yeah, my music school experience was, it was okay.
Yeah. Well, the choir thing is invaluable.
Yeah, it was a really good choir.
My experience is somewhat similar to yours in that when I look back at it, it was an absolute joy to sing, because my choir met every school day.
Yeah.
So 5 days a week. And then, so it was an hour Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it was 90 minutes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that's 5 hours plus an extra hour. So 6 hours a week, not counting anything else that we were doing.
Right.
Singing with 30, 40 people constantly, and almost all a cappella, which is my favorite choral music is a cappella.
Yeah.
My
That's
favorite.
Awesome.
Do you have Rachmaninoff's Vespers?
No.
Oh, and this is for the listener too. There was a record, the Bruffy version, won a Grammy for Best Choral Album a few years ago.
Okay.
I've got multiple versions of Rachmaninoff's Vespers, and I think you would totally dig it.
I'm gonna check it out.
Good stuff. So it seems to me, Leeann, you where you are now has come from a combination of studying it and not studying it.
Yeah.
Like researching it, but then also feeling your way through it.
Totally.
Everyone's got their own path, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. And what the resulting, like Tom Petty, like my ethos is, if it sounds good, it is good.
Yeah, right?
I don't care how you got there.
Yeah.
But I'm going to hear play a song in just a second. But before you go, there's a shadow looming over this, which is you switched to journalism.
Yeah.
And that is a related field to songwriting, I feel, almost directly. You know who was a journalist before he got famous? Was Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits was a journalist in newspapers.
Really?
And there's been other people as well who, because when you're a journalist, you have to have that observational eye.
Yeah.
That keen eye. So do you think that there are things from the journalism that you've kind of brought into music?
I do, absolutely. I think talking to lots of different people about lots of different things, and then having to put that into a concise article, and which is not unlike songwriting, did help a lot. And getting me to open up a little bit, to be able to like be a little bit less shy, to have to call people that you've never talked to before and like ask them about
whatever.
God knows what. Yeah.
The plane crash, the football victory, the murder, the birth, the death, the wedding, the whole 9 yards.
All of it. Yeah, I think it definitely did, for sure.
Did you work in journalism after school?
Well, I actually had a job in school at the Arizona Republic as a breaking news reporter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you do it again?
No.
I've done a lot of I tend to produce news. Done a lot of production of news, mostly auditory media like radio and podcasting now. More the latter nowadays.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing to be involved in it because it's the super cliche, but you've heard if it bleeds, it leads.
Exactly.
And
that's why I wouldn't do it. Yeah.
It's so much negative stuff.
Yeah.
Because people are drawn to a death. People are drawn to a murder, a mass shooting, someone who didn't do what they're supposed to. But I'll leave you with this, and then we'll play a song. I promise I'm going to keep the story short. I produced an interview with, I think his name's, I think it's David McCraw. He was one of the lawyers for the New York Times. And in this interview, he said something that had never even occurred to me. He's like, journalists by nature are like truth tellers in a way.
Yeah.
Because people don't get into journalism because everything is going well.
Right.
People go into journalism because they see an inequity in the world and they feel drawn to address that. And by illuminating the problem, then society can address it.
Yeah.
Now, this is a meta issue, I suppose. But I think that it's like you said a minute ago, it's tied directly to that songwriting idea. Whether it's a personal thing or something you observe about life on Earth or elsewhere, physical, metaphysical, whatever, finding a way to channel that and explain it to people or at least illuminate it, I think that's what draws people to music.
Totally.
All right.
Absolutely.
That was heavy. I feel like that was really heavy. Was that heavy?
Let's lighten up with a song about quitting everything.
Oh, yeah. That's the one that we're doing next, isn't it? Yeah. Checking out. I love the idea for this. Where did you get the idea for this? The song is called I'm Done. Where did you get the idea for this?
I suppose from life. I think I probably heard, the phrase in my head, I'm done. And then the rest kind of came. And I kind of just, thought about the musician life and how it's not always easy. And probably everybody reaches a point where you're like, should I just get a regular job? And, so that's what this one's about.
Yeah. It's funny. I was talking, another episode we did recently was with Beth Goodfellow, an amazing artist. She's doing a lot of her own music now, played with Iron and Wine, played with Madison Cunningham for a while. She's got some new really cool stuff. You should check out that episode as well. And just how this life can be portrayed as glamorous because you're on stage and there's lights and everyone has to listen to you because you've got a microphone and a PA system and maybe a loud guitar too. But a lot of times it kind of sucks. And I don't want to or at least there are sucky things about it.
Yeah.
Because Leeann, how many Tuesday night gigs to the 3 people have you played in your life?
I would say at least 50.
Yeah, more than you can count. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
You are a very, very good artist. Your songs are great. Your new EP is great. You're a great singer. And you're playing to empty, or have played to empty rooms. And that's what I'm getting at is that this isn't about you. Every musician has done that.
Right.
And they continue to do so. Some gigs are just like that.
Yeah.
It's not all limousines and cocaine.
Yeah.
It's sitting in lobbies and self-doubt and anxiety and it's all the foibles of being a human. And then layer on top of that this need to express yourself artistically.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a trip, man.
It's a trip, man. That's the other truth. Thank you, Leeann. All right, this is the song I'm Done, Leeann Skoda on Independence Day.
I try and the words don't come. I spin around till I'm all undone. I will stay when I want to run. Yeah, I'm done trying to be someone. Well, I can play a fast guitar, free drinks all night at the bar. Pass the hat, load up the truck. Then I'm done trying to be someone. Take another shot at the straight line. Sleep at night and wake up with the sun. Go back where I'm from. I faked you one too many times. Yeah, give a dog, get a dime. One more night, one more song, then I'm done trying to be someone. Take another shot at the straight line. Sleep at night and wake up with the sun. Go back where I'm from. I'm done trying to be someone. One more night, one more song, one more. Take another shot at the straight life. Sleep at night, wake up with the sun. Go back where I'm from. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. Trying to be someone.
Leeann Skoda on Independence Day. Check her out at leannskoda.com. Also check her and her band out at Club TG. That's on Sunday, November the 7th. Going to play songs from Lucky Penny and other things as well. And my own close personal friend, Corey Tremontelli's playing bass in that show. Love that guy. Love to know that we have him in common. Such a cool, fun dude. He brings joy to things and this like crazy perspective on things.
Totally. Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
it. I love it. Everyone should have a friend like Corey Tremontelli, or they should just have him as
Yeah.
their friend. Maybe we should license him out. We should clone him and license him out.
That's a business idea.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about this. I know that you do some side work as a musician. At this point in your career, well, so how did that start? Like you start writing your own songs, obviously a great voice, but how did you start getting paid calls to go play with other folks? Because when I look at your resume, you're singing with Noah Cyrus, who's part of the Billy Joe / Miley Cyrus like royal family, Psychic Temple, Jason Hawk Harris. Like, how did you get calls? Like, how did that become an aspect of your music career?
You know, I think in a lot of ways that is kind of my approach to meeting musicians and playing it. As I like we were talking about, just like singing harmonies has been a huge door for me into meeting people, into playing gigs. That's kind of my thing. It's my niche. So I started I would, if I heard somebody that I loved, I would approach them and say, "Hey, I love your songwriting. If you ever want someone to come, sing harmonies with you, I would love to do that." And so it happened. And also,
Make it sound so easy.
I mean, that was easier than going out and just like playing shows by myself, like to, whatever open mics. It was so much more fun for me to just like be with someone on stage and sing harmonies. So I feel, lucky that I've had that avenue. And then I started singing and playing with my good friend Jessie Peo, who's been an LA musician for years and years. She's amazing. We started playing together. And so then I kind of, as a new guitar player, just kind of started figuring out different parts that would work around her rather than like playing the same thing, just, or like picking rather to accompany her strumming. And then it kind of evolved that way. And then just a few other friends have had me do it for them. And yeah, it's still one of my favorite things to do is just play and sing with other people.
And I wouldn't say just, like take the just out of that sentence. Because I feel like I learned that from my mother. My mother would say, well, I just want to do this. I just want to do that. And over the years, I thought, Mom, just take the just out. You don't need the just, because that in a way makes me think, well, that's all I want is this. But you can streamline it and just say, well, I want that. I don't want to like get all into like The Secret and manifesting and all that other kind of stuff.
Let's manifest this.
But I do think that you say what you want out loud. And sometimes it's like just hearing it yourself.
Yeah.
Even if it's yourself saying it, just hearing it from somebody, even if it's your own voice, like does kind of in a weird way manifest it. Or like, I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to get all hokey about it, but there's the universe rewards action is a phrase that I like to use a lot because I find myself when I get depressed about things because it's a hard life in music and we've been dealing with a pandemic and life is very complicated at this part of the world, at this stage of of society. So I get in these little eddies and I go around in circles and, we're trying to find the Netflix end screen or we're wasting time. There's infinite ways to waste time on digital screens right now.
Right. Yeah.
But that doesn't, there are no new fans in your living room. There are no potential listeners who are going to buy your record in your dining room. There are no venues in your lawn unless you do a show there.
Right.
So getting out into the world is such a crucial thing.
Right.
But how did you get from like just asking your friends, like how did that turn into a paid gig? Was there a point where you were like, hey, I need $50? Or had you worked yourself into a realm kind of either intentionally or just by happenstance that they were paid gigs?
Well, the people that I was playing with had been doing it for a lot longer than me. For example, Jessie Peo had been playing around LA for years and years. So she was a huge, reason that I met a lot of people that I did. Because she's bringing me along to all these paid gigs. And I was in the Get Down Boys, the bluegrass band. They're all playing paid gigs. They weren't paying a lot.
Yeah.
But it was something.
Something's better than nothing.
Yeah. So I was starting off getting paid-ish gigs, pretty much within the first year I was out here. And then it just kind of just grew. And the more people you meet, And then hopefully you do a good job that somebody calls you back again. And it kind of evolves from there.
Yeah, it's funny. I'd be curious to know what your thought is because like when I was playing gigs when I was like 22, it's like free beer. Woohoo!
Oh, yeah.
I'll play all night for free beer, right? And then you get to be like 32 and you're like, I got more beer than I know what to do with.
Right.
So like my rule is it's got to be one of three things: pay, audience, or like food and drinks. And there's a hierarchy. Pay is number one.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But maybe there's a giant audience. Now, if there's a giant audience, it's more likely to pay.
Yeah.
But if there's a big audience there, okay, maybe I'll do it for less money.
Yeah.
Or at a bare minimum, food and drinks.
Mm-hmm.
But that's least desirable of the three.
Yeah. Yeah. And the sideman one is, do you like the music? Does it pay? And do you like the people?
Yeah. Crucial thing. We talked about that with Beth as well when we were on there because we got to remember most of the time you're not, like if you're on a tour, most of the time you're not performing. Maybe you're performing 2 hours a day. Maybe. Maybe you do an in-store or like a radio promo thing in the afternoon, and that's a couple 2-tree songs, as we say in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
But, mostly you're in hotels and vans and airport. And I'm repeating myself from the Beth Goodfellow interview a little bit, but the personality aspect is so crucial.
Yeah, that's true.
There's just a vibe. And it ties into the record as well. Like, the vibe of the player. And
absolutely.
sometimes you just catch something.
Yeah.
How many of the side gigs are you playing guitar on as well? Is it always both? Is it mostly voice?
I would say it's maybe split.
Yeah.
50-50. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Let's talk about this. Because we're talking about, side work and shows, and that kind of ties into this topic, one of our last topics, which is like live shows.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to come back. Like, are you starting to go out and do gigs in spots? And are they in red states and blue states? You're vaccinated.
Yeah.
But where are you in terms of being concerned about being in a room with 5,000 people or 200 people or what have you as a performer?
Yeah, it's interesting because the stakes are it has changed so much for me right now, because at the beginning I was probably far more concerned about, getting and spreading COVID. And now, of course, I don't want that. But now if I would get COVID, I would be out, 2 weeks of work.
Right.
Whereas at the beginning of the pandemic, I didn't have any work, so I would have just been home anyway.
Right.
And now there's that. So I'm definitely cautious with this, these groups of shows that I just did recently. We had to take a test every time, we played a show, like before travel and then after we got home. So there are precautions you can take, and I'm just like super careful. I probably wouldn't want to be playing tons of packed, tight room shows. That kind of ekes me out. But I'm just like somewhere in the middle between like, I'm being cautious, but also not like terrified every day, because I just don't want to live that way.
Yeah, well, it becomes a choice at one point, for people who make their bread and butter from performing, because let's face it, we don't make money from records anymore.
Right.
I mean, almost anyone I've ever talked to, unless you're, Tom Petty's estate is getting money from Spotify, but most of us aren't, I get a little tiny check every now and again.
Right.
Enough for a gumball or whatever.
Gumball.
My gumball money, my spending money, walking around money. But so for live shows being such a big part of your income, like when did it start to come back for you?
It was like this late spring. So I would say like May, June, things started to turn around.
What did it feel like getting back out on the stage for the first time, like with all the weirdness in the audience? And was that in a place? Because back then, they weren't mandating vaccines. Like now, more and more places, the Jason Isbell model, or Isbell, as he says in the local vernacular, he's flat out requiring vaccinations. I know some artists are just saying, that's it. If you either do it or you can't come.
Yeah.
What are the shows that you're playing more like that, or are they? What is it?
Man, the shows have been like all across the board, really. I've done a lot of outdoor shows in the beginning.
Yeah, it's different.
That was different.
Safer.
And then I think Club TG does require vaccinations if I'm correct. And there's a lot of places that do require the vaccinations. It's just makes you feel so much better about being in a room with people.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I was eager to be vaccinated. Like for me, I felt like it was I call it the on-ramp to the comeback trail.
Yeah.
Like it's not the ollie, ollie, oxen free moment, but it's like, this is how we do this. This is how we as a society and as a species move forward without killing all of the weaker members of our society. Like Darwinism sounds great until it's mau.
Yeah. Exactly.
But so you've been mostly okay with it, and you've been able to manage it pretty well, because flying is part of that too. Like flying was scary for a while.
Yeah. I didn't fly much at all until I was vaccinated.
Okay.
And then we did have some fly dates that I was on, and just keep that mask on.
Yeah. Do you get any opening gigs out of these side gigs? Because I know certain artists I know will go out. Like some of them, I know one guy, he was a technician with a particular artist, like a well-known artist. And every now and again, they'd be like, okay, you want to open up 2 or 3 shows on this run?
Yeah.
Do you get situations like that?
I haven't in a while, but then again, like performing is just getting back. But I have a little bit on the road. Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
One last question about choirs, and I want you to play your last tune before I kick you out of here. Do you miss it?
Oh, yeah. So much. I miss
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I would love to go and sing in a great choir again.
For people who haven't sang in an a cappella choral group, there's nothing like it in the world. It's just it lifts me in a way, like lifts my spirit, and I desperately miss it. I had so fortunate to have sung. I had a high school choir that was pretty good, and then had a great choir under a great director. Traveled and toured with that. It was
So cool.
so amazing. Makes me want to get back into a choir, Leeann.
Yeah,
Okay, so
man.
you've got a special treat for us here. You're dipping into someone else's material. Tell us, me and our listeners, why you chose this song and who it is.
Yeah, this is Tom Petty's Time to Move On from one of my favorite records of all time, Wildflowers. I've been playing it lately as a cover tune, and I love it. it's very poignant right now as we are kind of moving out of the pandemic, and it hits really hard right now, and I love this song, so I hope you enjoy.
That's enough. That's enough for me. You could do a lot worse than covering Tom Petty. If you're going to cover anyone, cover Tom Petty. So this is Leeann Skoda, the song Time to Move On from Tom Petty's Wildflowers on Independence Day.
It's time to move on. It's time to get going. What lies ahead, I have no way of knowing. But under my feet, baby, grass is growing. Yeah, it's time to move on. It's time to get going. Broken the skyline, moving through the airport. She's an honest defector, conscientious objector, now her own protector. Yeah, broken the skyline. Which way to love land? Which way to something better? Which way to forgiveness? Which way do I go? Yeah, it's time to move on. It's time to get going. What lies ahead, I have no way of knowing. But under my feet, baby, grass is growing. Yeah, it's time to move on. It's time to get going. Sometime later, getting the words wrong, losing the meaning and wasting the rhyme. This nauseous adrenaline, it's like breaking up a dogfight, like a deer in the headlights, frozen in real time. I'm losing my mind. It's time to move on. It's time to get going. What lies ahead, I have no way of knowing. But under my feet, baby, grass is growing. Yeah, it's time to move on. It's time to get going. Yeah, it's time to move on. It's time to get going.
One of my favorite things in the entire world, a great cover of a Tom Petty song. Tom Petty's amazing. WWTPD is what I say when I'm making music. When it comes to does that rhyme scheme work? I don't know. Would Petty do it? If he wouldn't, no, it's out the door. Going to do something else. Got to raise the bar, Leanne. That's how we do it.
That's right.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, taking time out of your busy schedule. I know musicians are busy. We've got this weird time compression expansion thing in terms of we're busy, we're not, hurry up and wait lifestyle. But I always appreciate that you gave your time and your musical gifts, which are ample to us and our listeners. You've got this show coming up at I go look. It's a crazy name of this place, Club TG, right?
That's right.
TEGEE.
That's right. Yeah.
That is on Glendale Boulevard, 3210 Glendale Boulevard, Los Angeles, California. Sunday the 7th. That's coming up very, very soon. You should check that out. It is the release party show for your Lucky Penny EP, which I hope everyone picks up. And then what's next for you after this? You said you've dropped some hints that there's some more music behind that. Are there more shows? What's coming next?
Yeah, let's hope a lot more shows. Working on that, and a new EP shall be close behind.
Well, keep doing what you're doing. I like your
so
direction,
much,
Leanne.
Joe.
Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it so very much. So thank you to Leeann Skoda, also to the Independence Day staff, Dale Tanksley, Wayne Topinski, and Sally Shackleton. Also, Edie Fishcamp Armstrong. The groovy Tone Loke Piscotti manages the Independence Day website. Thank you, Loke. Independence Day's theme music was composed by Great Lakes Myth Society. Be sure you check those guys out. Great autumnal music there. For Independence Day, as always, I am Joe Armstrong. If you do one thing today, please be good to one another.